Welcome to Psychic Girls Next Door. We are your hosts, Lili
and Shannon Miller. This podcast is for all spirituality enthusiasts and psychics next door to share tools, experiences, and spiritual practices that align with your highest vibrational self.
And in this episode, we're going to continue on our chakra series. So we're going to be exploring the second chakra. You know, if you haven't checked out the first one, that one it's available. And so we're going to be diving in all the fun stuff about the second chakra and all the feels that go along with it too. So the second chakra, it often referred to as the sacral chakra, because that's kind of where it sits, or Svadhisthana in Sanskrit. I don't know if I said that right.
To me.
We'll go with it.
Probably pronounced it better than I could.
So it is one of the 7 primary energy centers in the human body, according to Hindu and yogic traditions. But each chakra, they are associated with specific aspects of physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
Nice. Yeah, the second chakra for me has always been like something that just is always constant. Like the work that for a long time, the first chakra was a lot of my work, like how to obtain more money. But the amount of like emotions that go into that, like kind of potentially clog you from manifesting what you want to manifest based on like your limiting beliefs or whatever you're dealing with. And the narratives that exist in your second chakra can surprise you for sure. But the sacral chakra, it's located in your lower abdomen, just above or just below your belly button, essentially. And I associate it with like inner self, emotions, creativity. The color associated, if you're into like, you know, all the chakras have a specific color assigned to them. It's orange, and it's believed that focusing on the color orange can help balance and activate the chakra. The element is water. Makes sense because of crying, you know, the tears, emotions. Mm-hmm. And it represents water in general, represents fluidity, emotions, and flow of energy. So I think that this is going to be a really fun episode to talk about.
It has a lot to do with your emotional state. And this is how we communicate with the world, like through our emotions and our feelings. It's, you know, like when you feel it, like in your, like down in the pit of your stomach.
Oh yeah.
Like that gut feeling.
Yeah. If the vibes are off,
the butterflies in your stomach, that's your second chakra getting activated. So, and it's also related to your body communication. Yeah. That's how, you know, through your emotions and your feelings, that's how your body's communicating through it.
Yeah, and your creativity also is associated with the second chakra. So for me, I am still, you know, cracking the whip for myself to write this book. I've started building like more characters and on all of that, but I realized like when I feel blocked in my second, the creativity is not flowing. Like if I'm not flowing, then it's not going to flow. And depending on what you're trying to achieve or where you feel blocked, especially in the second chakra, a lot of things are connected and correlated to the second chakra. So if you're showing up in a bad mood, you are going to not only attract situations that match that energy or match whatever is happening, but if your second chakra is fully open, you're going to feel the emotions and the energy of everyone. So it's super important to think of it like a camera lens, like, you know, being able to open and shut and close, like when you feel like you are fully feeling everything. And sometimes I do this, you know, subconsciously where I keep it open because that's my strongest, you know, sense, I guess, of all the psychic senses, like being able to feel what the vibes are in the room.
Clairsentience.
Yes, clairsentience. Like being able to know how people are feeling and feel how people are feeling. So for me, I want to be able to see how people are feeling and kind of tapping in, using more of my sixth and my seventh, my knowingness and my sight of like, I can just look at their energy and, you know, oh, I know that they're feeling sad. I see that they're feeling sad, rather than like looking at them and feeling how they're feeling. Because sometimes I'll come home from like, if it's a chaotic day at work, or maybe there was a lot of drama, you know, in like a friend dynamic, or something happens out and about. If my second chakra is open, and I might not even be in my body enough to really know that it's been fully open, I will realize like, oh, I don't feel this way at all. These are not my own feelings. These are someone else's feelings. And then I don't care at all about the situation or the drama or whatever happened. Like, but it can sometimes like confuse me personally when my second chakra is wide open and I'm feeling really emotional about something or a situation, which for me isn't always my natural. I feel like I'm kind of analytical with my emotions most of the time, and like I can be like, no, it's going to be okay, it's not the end of the world, like kind of talk myself off the ledge, so to speak, and like be like, no, that's like kind of logically apply like rationality to my emotions. And so I have to realize like, oh, these aren't even mine at all. My second chakra is just wide open. So being able to shut that down is going to help in situations if you're feeling like you relate to whatever I just said, like intentionally shut down that second chakra and close that lens so that you can protect your peace and your own emotions from getting entangled with other people.
Yeah, well, I feel that a lot of people, they are empathic, or they're more like sensitive to energy. They do connect with others a lot through their second chakra. And as you're mentioning, having your second chakra a little bit more open, or some people say like it's overactive or imbalanced,
right,
whatever is what language people want to use it, or like more open. Or and people might go on the other spectrum of having their second chakra really very closed and shut down.
Yeah.
And that was me throughout my whole life until recently, where my default is just to shut down my emotions, because I've learned to repress it from a young age. I come from a family that, you know, this has been passed on through generations, that you just don't express emotions. So there's a lot of limiting beliefs, conditioning, programming associated with expressing emotions. Growing up, I was made fun of because I was expressing what I was feeling. So there was a lot of judgment around like, oh, like you're so weak.
Oh, that's not fun.
You're so dumb. Like, why are you crying? So there was a lot of that invalidation, punishment energy around expressing my emotions. So for me, my default has always been just to numb myself emotionally and not like fully express what I was feeling or what was like really going on here. So you just put on this mask that everything's fine. And then you kind of just like, you're not like a priority, and you end up a lot of people pleasing. That's what happens. But as I went through all this healing work, and I've learned that, emotions, they're just like body messages.
Yeah.
It's just like telling you where to look at a little deeper. And there's nothing wrong with emotions. I say that emotions, it's energy in motion. That's how I see it.
Oh, I like that.
So if you're feeling anger, and you know, like how people sometimes will also label emotions as like negative or positive.
Right.
For me, energies I see is neutral.
Yeah.
I don't label as such, because I think every emotion is valid. It's more about like how you react.
Yeah.
Or respond to whatever emotion that is coming up. So for me, my work, it was about like expressing myself in a way that felt safe and that I felt authentic. So I remember years ago, I was going through a very depressive state. And I never would tell anyone about it. But I was like so rock bottom. And I remember this friend of mine, she would always keep asking me, oh, let's go out. And I would say, no, because I didn't want to. And I remember one day we did go out. and we sat down and I told her how I was feeling. And like right there and then, it felt so liberating just to be able to say like, this is how I'm feeling. And it's not great. It's just something that me like maybe even like a year ago from when that happened, it would never cross my mind to even express what I was feeling. So it was just like this sense of empowerment just to be able to express it, but in a healthy way.
Yeah.
You know, just sharing with someone how I was feeling. And again, I don't feel like that we have to express it in a way just because I'm feeling angry. It doesn't like gives me the right to like pour my anger.
Right.
It
Like
just,
project it on.
project on other
whoever
people.
and
I think there
whatever.
are very healthy ways to respond to it.
Yeah.
And still feel anger and let people know about it.
Yeah.
But in a kind and compassionate way.
Totally. I like often I'm like thinking about some of the things I get angry about. I get angry about like the system that we live in.
Oh, absolutely. How can you not?
You know,
There's a lot of things in the world that make me anger.
oh yeah. Like
For sure.
I mean,
and
especially
there's
now.
people like, in our day-to-day lives too that do trigger.
Yeah, like I feel like with human beings, like the people who I know and have trust with, it's more of like, oh, that really irritated me. It's like the spectrum of anger. Like what?
Yes.
Like how do you define like the points of anger? It all kind of relates. And like if I were to, I know that Inside Out 2 is coming out soon, and I don't know if any if any of our listeners have seen that, but I think that's a great way to like, if you're not familiar like with how to identify emotions and tap into emotions, the movie Inside Out is a great way to like.
Oh yeah, that is such a cute movie.
It's like a good characteristic of like how this might be expressed.
It
in
gives
your body.
people a visual,
Yes,
of what it looks like in a fun way.
Yes, yeah, and so of all the emotions, I would definitely say like I am anger. Like I
feel anger.
I feel anger. Yes. Thank you for correcting me. Because when you say you are the emotion,
you become that.
Yeah, then you become that. And that's like, you don't want to have to like carry that energy with you and like become that and like have it associate with your identity, which is the third chakra, which the two can be heavily correlated. Like when you feel upset about something, realizing like, oh, this is a feeling, like tapping into like, because when you are upset about something, then you are going to be upset about something. Like it'll be concrete and like kind of like infinite, right? Where the language and like how you think about your emotions and how you process them, like definitely tap into that and connect to that language. Thank you for that reminder.
Yes. And we as a culture, there's a lot of this, I am this and that. What are you? So there's always this question.
Right.
So we do tend to identify ourselves. So, oh, I am. And then you put whatever it is, like your job title, your family role, whatever it is. But with emotions, I try to always be mindful. And because when I say I am sad, means I become the sadness.
Right.
But what you want to look at emotion is just a feeling. So I feel sad.
Yeah.
And that's the first step in either like starting to balance that chakra. It's just the first you just identify.
And acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it and then label.
Yeah.
Label what it is. I feel anger. I feel sadness. I feel frustrated.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest thing was to allow myself to feel the emotion, go through it.
Yeah.
I would just like now what happens, say like if I'm angry, I'll sit down and I just let myself feel the anger.
Oh,
just
yeah.
like through my body.
Yeah.
And I might like, wiggle myself and grunt and make, you can make
process it.
process. And then because it helps to integrate whatever emotion that is coming in. But second chakra or sacral chakra, it's also related to also your sexuality.
Oh, yeah.
Sensuality. It's also related a lot of on that side as well. It can be kind of, it reflects on having sexual drive, and sexuality also has to do with creativity. You know, it has nothing to do with the act of sex in itself, but more of the energy that is emotion of the creativity. So people, they are very repressed on that side. That creates also like an imbalance. I grew up in a very Catholic upbringing where there was a lot of shaming.
Oh yeah, like no sex until you get married.
Yeah, expressing your sensuality. But what it was weird is that I grew up in a very sensual country. Very sexual, because like, you know, if you guys,
Brazil is super sensual.
if this is your first time listening to those episodes, I am born and raised in Brazil. Who is the most like sexual place that you can think of where people, you know, that's what we're famous for, about like our bodies and being proud of it and being very sensual and just, you know, proud of having, you know, this exotic beauty.
There's a lot of beautiful people who come from Brazil, so that makes sense.
And people are very body centric.
Yeah.
So it's all like related. So it was, for me, it was like so strange to like grow up in a country that is very much sensual.
It's a huge dichotomy.
It's this polarity. And but then you have all this religious kind of like pressure
the
of
shame
like
around that.
Shame and punishment. Yeah. That you can be, but you cannot be.
Interesting.
So it's like you can be sensual here, but not at home.
In these types of environments.
It was like kind of like dictated. So growing up for me, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
Like, well, I want to be, but can I be?
Right.
So it was always like this kind of this dance of allowing myself to be a certain way or not. And it helped, of course, the fact that I moved away physically. I moved away. And I moved into the U.S. where I could define for myself what it means to be a sexual creature.
Right. And like, what does it mean to like, you know, tap into your sensuality? Because like, you might not be sexually active, but still be super in tune with your sensuality. Yeah,
you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You know, because it also has to relate it, because creativity has a lot to do with the hands, right? So what do you do when you are in creativity or sensuality, sexuality, you use a lot of your hands, right? You touch yourself and all of that stuff too. So it's all correlated. But it was very interesting to, redefine that for myself. And I think it's critical to look at the way that you also express yourself in that ways. I mean, do you feel shame when people talk about sex around you, or if you see like a sex scene on TV, like what comes up? And it's a very interesting exercise. Do you want to like, oh my God, this is cringe, or seeing someone naked?
Right. Oh my gosh. I'll talk about my experience.
You should talk about it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
But I'm just bringing up questions for you to question, because it's one of the greatest things that we can do in life is just question things.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Well, why is this coming up for me? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel shame or embarrassed at looking at things like this? You know?
So I've had like a lot of conflicts with like my perception of my own body. I think a lot of it stems from my female lineage of like, you know, just perception of being a woman and being in a woman's body, and like
shame,
and like also like if you're not like, you know, I grew up in basically if you're not skinny you won't get a man, kind of like that's the root of picture. And so I'm not skinny and I don't have a man, and I'm like, so I'm yet or well I'm also like I don't really need one. Like I'm kind of coming to peace with like, you know, I keep seeing these TikTok videos like that come up in my algorithm of like, you know, they're not just, and even like someone on Love is Blind, like I love Love is Blind. And someone recently was like, that you're not competing with other dudes, you're competing with me. Like you know, guys who are interested, you're not competing with other men. And, you know, for me personally, you're competing with me and my time. Like, you know, how are you going to make my time, you know, more valuable by spending it with you? And I thought that was like a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my God, I love that. It's so empowering, because it's not like not a lack mentality thing. It's like, you know, it felt very empowering to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I feel that we don't need a partner.
Right.
To find happiness or whatever it is for you. But it's okay.
Right.
To want a
it's
partner.
okay to want one. Like,
Want
of course I
partner.
would want one.
Of
Yeah.
course, as human beings, we are wired for connection.
Right. Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah.
So it's okay to want a partner, but that's not like, oh, my life depends on having someone.
Totally. Like, I would rather have, like, it's not like, would you rather, but like, I like that I have mental peace.
Yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. I sleep very well at night. I don't have drama with a baby daddy or a shitty, toxic, fiance or boyfriend or whatever, or partner. Like, I feel very like my cup is full,
right?
Without having all of that. And I think a lot of that is like the fear talking, like, fear is fear an emotion?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like,
it's a big one.
Like, I have a fear of being in a toxic relationship or being in an unfulfilling, like, not happy romantic relationship. Doesn't come from my parents. They're still happy, still in love. Like, this is just me seeing a lot of women, either on TikTok or here, some of my friends are not in like the best relationships, and like just, go also dating in my 20s, and like, thank God that didn't work out. Like, a lot of these dynamics have kind of probably forced a bubble. I mean, you're live with me while I'm figuring this out right now, but like, forced a bubble of protection around my second chakra. Like,
because in a way you create this narrative,
right? It's a tall tale.
Yeah. This is what I don't want.
Right.
And that becomes the predominant energy.
Right.
And whether you're trying to manifest a possible relationship or a future relationship, because you're focusing on what this is not which is great, knowing what you don't want.
Like, I'm not going to tolerate a lot.
Yes, but again, if it's other people's information,
right,
then it's not your information.
Right. I also,
in a way,
totally.
So I think it, and again, in fear, it's a. And then a lot of people act out of fear.
Oh, totally. Or they don't act at all out of fear.
Exactly.
For me, I'm not acting at all.
It goes either way. So if you see the world and in a situation nowadays, it's being driven by fear.
Right.
It's imposed by the energy of fear.
A lot of people,
And people, they don't react out of fear.
I purposely don't react. Like,
and this is what keeps a lot of people from not pursuing things in life, because out of fear of failure,
fear of rejection,
fear of a lot of fears, all fears of abandonment or of, whatever it is.
Right. Being stuck.
It's important just to recognize, because what emotions, what they do is just to point you, where do you need to put more attention to. So fear, to me, tells a story of where do you feel powerless. So the work is looking at how do you make yourself more empowered.
Yeah.
Like in my case, I'm feeling anxious lately.
Yeah.
Anxiety has been a big thing. I think the whole world can probably match
totally. Yeah.
with this energy at some level.
That's relatable. Yeah.
With anxiety. So every time I feel anxious, I ask myself, well, what is it trying to tell me? Mm-hmm. Where does anxiety is trying to communicate with me? It's because, is it a fear of the future? Is it fear of being out of control? Mm-hmm. So it's trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
And instead of dwelling in this emotion, it's just trying to find a why behind it. Like the anger, it also tells you a story too.
Yeah.
Well, where do you feel, whether it be powerless, where do you feel like you're not worthy, and things like that. So it's always kind of like looking at the other side of it.
Right. It's giving you information, like, as neutrally as possible. Even it might not feel neutral when it happens. It's giving you information so that you can figure out what is the source of whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, like as psychics, when I look at people's energy in their body, and this energy sits like in different body parts, right? Like it can show up as like a color, it show up as a picture, or it might show up like whatever it is, like that the person that I need to see it at that moment. A lot of times it does show up as emotions, like and it's like spot on when you see like someone that has a lot of anger, like say in their digestive systems. And I will often say, I mean, do you have problems with your liver? Because that's where anger gets stored. So it's important. So as people that work with energy, understanding that whatever people have health issues in their body, to me, it's a big indicator of where people are holding or repressing certain emotions or feelings. If you have, let's say I'm going to focus more on the second chakra. People with, if you have digestive issues, maybe you have like problems with your hip area, around like your sexual organs, all of that area, you have indigestion and things like that. That's a good indicator on a physical level that there is to look deeper. And that is probably related to your second chakra. So related how you're expressing, you're not expressing your emotions, or your sensuality, sexuality, paying attention, how the body is communicating. You know? And then what I love about the body is just like this, such a high intelligence, intuitive vessel. That is constantly giving us feedback, so the second chakra, that's what it is. I always say it's kind of like that little when nowadays everything's like an app, so it's kind of like that little app that is like telling you, hey, pop notification, this is where you need to look at it.
That's so relatable and very true.
So that's kind of what it does. So in the best way, and again, we also want to empower you with ideas on how to balance the second chakra. To the first is just mindfulness, whether it be through meditation, yoga, journaling, because the more you get to know yourself and just, recognize feelings, what comes up, what you got triggered, what triggered you. The more you get to know yourself, the better you're able to identify it, and then how do you want to respond to it?
Like I'll give you the example. We started talking about my naked story.
Oh yeah, please do share if you feel comfortable.
I feel comfortable. So I most of the time identify as like a never nude. Like Tobias Funke from Arrested Development, like he's like wearing jorts in the shower because he's like a never nude. I like shower naked, don't worry. But like, and I joke about it because like I grew up in like a not naked household. Like some of my friends grew up in naked households where like they would just like be walking around naked in front of their dad, which I think is like such a weird thing. And like, I'm trying not to be judgmental of those situations, but I grew up in a very clothed household.
The more conservative.
Energetically. My mom grew up Irish Catholic. Like, that's kind of the root of like, I feel like the mom set the tone of the house, like internally. And for me, I like wearing, I love wearing clothes. Like, and I genuinely, that is my own information. Like, I have thought a lot about this after my experience. I went to Harbin Hot Springs and it's beautiful. I went like the end of December of just a couple months ago, and I went with a couple of our meditation school friends, and they were all naked. Like, if you're not familiar with Harbin, it's clothing is optional. Oh, and they really embrace that.
Yes. And
I did not realize that.
So you have to be comfortable with seeing people that are naked. And some people, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be naked, but
you don't have to be naked. But I was one of like 5 people that had a swimsuit on, and I felt like the naked one.
You felt like the outsider.
I felt like the weird person there, and I didn't realize how triggered I would get. Like I'm fine around like women. Be like, I don't care at all because I am a woman. Like I don't like I feel like if it was at a women's spa, like I would not have been triggered. Like I still would have been in a swimsuit, but like I would not have been triggered by like the environment. I think because I've thought a lot about this and processed it. Basically there's all these like small pools where realistically you should have like maybe 5 to 6 people. They were fitting like 9 people like body to body in these little hot tub pools. And then they had like a beautiful regular pool, but because it was cold, like, you know, no, everyone was in these hot tubs, and it was mostly men. Like, and there were probably like 40 people who were there, like some couples, like, but I would say 70% of the people who were there were men. And for me, I've been avoiding dating for years. I haven't been naked with a man for years. Like, you know.
So you got triggered
in a
lot of different ways.
I got very triggered by a lot of different things. And then you also, like, I'm like, where do I look? I can't look at anybody. Like, I literally I changed so that you could undress in like this open area. But it's pretty open. Like, you're out in nature.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, and then the downstairs, like, you have to like walk upstairs to like go to the pools and stuff. But there's this downstairs changing area, and I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be like a locker room situation where you
it's
could,
private.
like, yeah, where it's private. You can like change into a towel, and like it's not that big of a deal. And no, this was like, you know, it's a scrappy, you know, kind of like very minimalist, like bring your own towel, BYOB essentially kind of thing. And, you know, I was like very triggered by the whole experience and I didn't think I would be. I was like, yeah, I don't mind people being naked. But then I realized proximity. I don't mind people being naked at a nude beach where they're like very far away from me. They're not smack dab next to me. And I realized like it was the proximity that triggered me the most, of like having to be in a very small pool with like a lot of naked men around me. Like, and as a woman, I was like, I know this is like, nothing bad is going to happen. Like,
but it made you uncomfortable.
But it made me so uncomfortable, and I couldn't make eye contact. I wore my sunglasses the whole time. Like, and then I took them off when I was like having a conversation with like a few women. I feel very safe around women. I don't feel safe around men. So that was like one very good information.
So that is good information to kind of look at it too.
Yeah. And I was like, it was like sitting in ball soup, essentially. Like, I know that's gross. Yeah. But like, I'm just
I feel that type of experience, especially living in a society where there's a lot of this, and I feel it comes a lot from religious energy.
Oh, it has to be. Like the
punishing
programming from my childhood growing up Catholic.
Yeah, people like to have to cover their bodies. Yeah. Their bodies have to look a certain way. So there's all this like prude sort of energy that still, I think it permeates the society as a whole. Like, you know, how you see those celebrities walking on the red carpet where the women are wearing like very sheer tops where they're exposing their nipples.
So that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of backlash that comes with that, and people not feeling comfortable seeing women's breasts.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think if you have beautiful breasts,
why not?
If I had it, I'll be wearing like a sheer top. But not the case. So I'm gonna spare you guys from.
I'm someone who needs a bra.
Yeah,
like I need a bra.
Yeah. So any eyesore, you don't need to see me in that sense. But if you're you're confident in it, God, my God, like show it off. But there is also, you see people that support that, but you also can see like how people really like there's this backlash of shaming and, that how things are kind of, you have to cover your body.
Right.
So we do grow up in this society where if seeing someone's, whether men or women, like it's wrong.
Right.
It feels wrong. And even like if you're close to them, whether being proximity, something's bad is going to happen.
Right. Exactly.
Because there is this program. Oh, we're naked here. Nothing good can come out of it.
Right.
Which is not the truth.
Right.
Because I've been to Harbin more than once.
Oh, yeah.
My first experience was maybe like, I want to say like 2 years ago. And it was great healing experience for me because I also had a little shame about being more of me naked, not seeing other people's. For me, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I honestly, I think I've done so much work on myself of seeing people with neutrality. I didn't care if it was a man, women, if we're sitting there, didn't care at all. But it was more of me taking off my bathing suit and being vulnerable.
I mean, I haven't even gotten to that stage yet.
No, but I kind of, so for me, the first half, the first half was me wearing the swimsuit.
Yeah.
And then the other half was like, you know what? screw it. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one is here for sexual intentions.
No, totally. And
it's just like, it's a very safe environment. People are just have to relax,
and
right?
I'm like, why is it that a small piece of material
right?
covering your junk makes me have psychological safety?
Right?
You know, like,
isn't it like some sort of
so
programming?
weird. Yes.
Right? It's
So-
kind of, it's a belief, right?
Yeah.
That you have to cover your intimate parts. So there's like the shame
Right.
attached to like being in your
Right.
regular birthday suit.
Totally. And I'm like, for me, like I said, I am comfortable being a never nude, like, or an almost never nude. Like I thrive in clothing, and I will, that is my personal comfort. Would I go back again? Maybe. Like, I think it was a good information for me to sit with, and process. It was like forced proximity, forced processing. And I think it was really good for me to know this about myself, because I was like, I don't care if people are naked. But then I realized, like, oh, I have a stipulation around that. Like, I don't care if they're naked and far away.
Yeah.
So
there was certain conditions.
There are certain conditions around, like, if people are going to be naked, they got to be away from me.
Yeah.
Like, and not, I can't sit, I can't mentally handle being in a pool of 15 people smack dab next to each other.
I do believe that places like that is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Like in Brazil, we do have a lot of nude beaches.
Yeah.
But they're kind of private and secluded.
Like, that would be fine.
And it's fine because it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And also, of course, to kind of prevent, from other things happening.
It's
too.
just like the socialization aspect for me when, like, no one's wearing clothing. I'm like,
well, because it goes against what we call, I'm going to say, quote unquote, normal.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Where I'm like, God, this was like, it was like, I'm trying, and I feel like I'm not judging people who do it, because it wasn't even about, it was about me and the experience. You know?
It's all about you and what got triggered in you. For me, it was for me, it was a different experience where I felt very liberated.
Yeah.
But again, I think even before you went, like I've mentioned to you, this is a place where if I would take someone, I would have to be very selective who comes with me, because whoever comes with me, that wants to join me in the hot tubs, because I love hot tubs. So, it has to be someone that is open, and I know that's going to be comfortable in that experience.
I thought it would be more like a kind of an outdoor, clothing optional, like tranquil spa type of thing, like where you have an individual tub, you're doing your own thing.
Well, there was an expectation, right? So, and that's okay.
No, totally. Live and learn.
You go, you had an experience, so now and then you decide whether or not you want to do it again or not.
It is very beautiful. It is very naked.
I do. I mean, I highly recommend it if you are comfortable with optional clothing, if you just want to relax and have a great hot tub experience. I love going up there. Like I went back like a few months ago too, and I'm just at a point where I just I'm really comfortable with where I am now, and we all have our different journeys, but again, just take good care of your second chakra too.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so important.
Yeah, and when you feel overloaded, for me, I felt very overstimulated, because I was also masking my neuro spiciness too, of I don't know how to socialize in these types of environments. Like, I can't make. You couldn't be yourself. I couldn't be myself in that environment. So I felt I was only there for 2 hours, and it was a 2-hour drive each way. Yeah. So I was just gonna say, be mindful of the type of environment you get into if you are also identify as an almost never nude like me. And there's nothing wrong with either or, but I feel like I'm on this journey of I have some more things to process before I can personally ever feel comfortable.
Yeah. So you felt uncomfortable.
I felt uncomfortable.
So your second chakra perceived the feeling of uncomfortable as almost like either feeling unsafe, threatened. So there was a lot that came with it.
There was too many things that came at me that day. And no one came at me that day, but it was energetically.
But you got triggered somehow. Yeah. So it is important just to acknowledge all of this, but just find ways where you can process
Yeah.
all these emotions in a non-judgmental way.
Exactly.
So find a technique that works for you, whether it be whatever that we've already explained. It could be maybe you need to talk with someone, maybe you're in therapy, whatever it is, just find, a practice that works for you where you can keep that, more in balance.
I threw up the next day, so that helped
you
me.
told me that.
Yeah,
Jeez, you really need to get that out of your system.
I literally the anxious static energy that was lingering
in your second
my
chakra.
second chakra. I was like, I'm gonna throw this up, and then as soon as I threw up, I felt better.
Yeah,
felt better, processed it, moved on, and so my body was really talking to me.
And so isn't it interesting how the body is just
the body knows,
so communicative.
Yeah,
it's our highest intuitive vessel.
Oh yeah, yeah, and this is me not judging anyone who goes to Harbin. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a great experience. Is the experience for me at this point in my life right now? No, it is not. And that's okay. That was good for me to learn. I still had I made the most of it. I did not express any of this going on while I was there because I kind of grew up you don't want to make it uncomfortable for other people.
Well, so it's just repressing.
Repressing. I repressed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of repression, I repressed it in the moment. And I'm sure people could tell that I was I was feeling so insane when I was internally.
Right. Yeah, but you can keep dwelling.
Right. And no, I'm who cares? No one's gonna.
You felt a certain way.
Yeah,
and
it is
just
what it is.
Acknowledge that. Then moving forward, you just decide whether you want
that type of environment is
want to go back or not.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming at this point the answer is no, not
right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll reassess this in the future.
Yeah. But an all women situation, I would be open to that.
Right.
That's non-threatening for me.
Yeah.
I and also let's do a day spa.
Massages, facials,
a mud bath. That was
whatever feels safe and comfortable.
It was kind of a universal joke, but it also forced me to do some healing and find out information about myself that I had probably been avoiding for a really long time and repressing for a really long time.
Well, maybe, who knows, it might have been the experience that you needed to take a deeper look at that.
I think
because the triggers, that's what it tells you where the work is.
Yeah.
That's where you're oh, yes, that's, it's telling me something. It's not about the others. It's all about ourselves. But, I do hope if you have overwhelming feelings, just bring a little bit more compassion to yourself. So feel compassion, really warming it up through your body.
Yeah.
Bring a little bit more love, because those feelings feel very nurturing and soothing.
Well, I had to take a moment when I finally got braved myself into shimmying into my swimsuit. And I literally had to lie down and meditate. Yeah. I was I gotta collect myself. I feel very out of my body. So when you do feel triggered from any type of environment, person, place, thing, find a safe space to collect yourself.
Take a deep breath.
Yes. Breathe. Check in with your body. Be remember who you are. Ground yourself. Whatever grounding practice you have, whatever totem process you have to bring you back in and to feel grounded. That really saved me.
Yeah. And I think it's just also the awareness of it. When you you've realized right there and there, I think it's just taking a step back.
Yeah.
Just to check in and reassess how you want to move forward.
Yeah.
Do you want to react right in the situation? How do you want to respond?
Right. Or give yourself a chance to see how you are in that type
exactly.
of thing.
But all of it is a process, I think it's always a trial and error.
Yeah.
How we navigate all of these emotions. And we are emotional beings. So just validate your feelings and your emotions. There's nothing wrong with them.
No.
And please share stories where you got triggered.
Oh
and
my God,
any
we'd love to hear that.
feelings or emotions that came up for you. How did you deal with it?
especially if you can laugh about it after the fact. I feel like I can laugh about
exactly.
it. I could laugh about it when I got home.
Because your story might be inspiring to others.
Right.
And a lot of people might have been in the same situation to like, oh my gosh, yes, I felt that same way.
Right. Be like, is everyone okay with this? Because like, I am not okay with how I am.
And it might be a lot of people that are listening to this that might feel a certain way or another, listening to our stories too. But we want to welcome all the feelings, all the emotions, however you are feeling right now. Just allow yourself just to sit in the feeling. Nothing wrong with it. And it's something that I have to remind myself every single day. Nothing wrong with what I'm feeling. Now that I know it, how do I want to move forward?
Exactly.
So I think it's just the first step. But please do share your stories. I have nothing but feelings of love towards this community. And we thank you so much for being supportive. And if you do love us back, please, refer to your friends, share episodes with your friends. It really helps us to, even grow this community a little
match
more.
People who are interested in this
share the message, share information. But thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see you on our next one.
Thank you so much from the Psychic Girls Next Door.